Hello everyone and welcome. I hope that you're having a blessed day. I could have soup every single day of the year, but especially when it's getting chilly outside. It is pumpkin season, and today we are going to be making a delicious, creamy and luscious pumpkin soup. Here are the ingredients. I'm using 1 pumpkin of about 3 pounds, 4 cups of broth. I made a bone broth at home, but you can use chicken or beef broth, 1/3 cup of heavy cream, 2 tablespoons of butter, 1 yellow or sweet onion, fresh or dry herbs such as a tablespoon of sage, a teaspoon of thyme, a teaspoon of rosemary, and a 1/4 teaspoon of allspice. Also 2 tablespoons of olive oil and country ham for garnishing, but you can also use pork sausage or bacon. Finally, salt and pepper to taste. Before I begin peeling the pumpkin, I am going to place a towel over my cutting board to make it more stable. Then I am going to cut both ends of the pumpkin. The knife needs to be sharp and I'll take my time. There is no rush. It doesn't have to be perfect, we just need to get the bottom nice and flat and straight. Next, I'll position the flat part of the pumpkin on the cutting board, and I need to hold the pumpkin nice and firm and slowly start peeling it. It's easier to cut in half when I do one side at a time. And again, I'll be cutting one side at a time. Now we need to remove all the seeds from all the pieces. And don't throw away the seeds. They make a delicious snack if you roast them in the oven. Or if you have chickens, you can feed those seeds to them. In order to make it easier to chop, I like to start with the round edges. Then I trim the end. Now I'll be cutting it in long strips. And then in about 1-inch pieces. Next, I'll chop the onions in very small pieces. Let's prepare the spices. I have 1 tablespoon of fresh sage, 1 teaspoon of thyme, 1 teaspoon of rosemary, and a 1/4 teaspoon of allspice. I'm using fresh herbs, but it's perfectly fine to use dry herbs. Now I'll add about 2 tablespoons of olive oil to my pot, and I'll heat it up on medium heat. Add the onions and cook them for about 3 minutes, also on medium heat. It's now time to add the pumpkin pieces. Give it a good stir. Now add salt to taste. I am adding about a tablespoon of salt and then ground black pepper to taste. Continue cooking it on medium heat for about 4 minutes, stirring it frequently. Now add about 4 cups of broth. I'm using a homemade bone broth, but you can use any broth that you have at hand. Make sure that the broth barely covers the pumpkin pieces. You don't want your soup to be too watery. Depending on the size of your pumpkin, you can add more or less broth. Now we will incorporate all of the spices. Bring the soup to a boil, reduce the heat to low, Cover the pot with a lid and simmer for about 35 to 40 minutes. In the meantime, let's prepare the country ham for garnishing. I'm using a ham that I bought at a local store and I'm going to cut it in very small pieces. But you can also use bacon or pork sausage or no garnish at all, and the soup will still be nice and delicious and creamy. Add about a tablespoon of butter to a skillet and let it melt on medium heat. Next, we're going to saute the ham. I'll be cooking the ham until it is lightly crisp on the outside and it has a light brown color. And this is the texture that I'm looking for. It's been about 40 minutes and my soup is ready. I wish you could smell my kitchen right now. My mouth is watering. The pumpkin pieces are soft and tender, but if you wish, you can use a knife to test to see if they are fully cooked. Let's give it a taste for flavor and salt. I think that the amount of salt is perfect. Now I'll use an immersion blender to mix everything together. If you don't have an immersion blender, that's not a problem. You can use a whisk, or if you have a vertical blender, just let the soup cool down before adding to the blender. But that pumpkin is so soft that even if you just mash it with a fork, I'm sure it's still going to be pretty creamy. Now, if you decide to use an immersion blender, please be very careful and keep the blender at the bottom of the pot. Do not bring it up until you turn that motor off. It's going to splash and you don't want to burn yourself. The soup is going to be very hot. I am satisfied with this consistency. It's very creamy. And now for the final touch, I am going to add the last two ingredients. 1/3 of a cup of heavy cream, and 2 tablespoons of butter. Stir well until the butter has completely melted. Take a look at this soup. It's creamy and velvety and my kitchen smells delicious. Now here comes the best part, tasting it. I am going to grab one of my funny looking pumpkin looking cup and I am going to serve myself a very generous amount. Let's garnish with the country ham. The taste is amazing. All those flavors combined and the texture is creamy and velvety. And if you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And I hope that you have a fabulous and very blessed day. Thank you for watching.